Welcome to Motivational Humanity. You are not alone.
Tell me if this sounds familiar. You wake up, and before your feet even touch the floor, your phone is already in your hand. An hour disappears, then 2. The laundry basket is overflowing in the corner. 3 messages from your sister are sitting there, unanswered, turning gray with guilt. And you just stay there. Not because you're comfortable, because getting up feels like trying to walk through wet cement. And then that voice shows up. The quiet, cruel one that whispers, "You're just lazy." Maybe it's not even your own voice anymore. Maybe it's your mother's voice, or your boss's voice, or a comment someone left online years ago that you never quite let go of. It's been repeated so many times that you've started wearing it like a name tag. But somewhere underneath all of that, a smaller, more honest voice keeps asking a different question. This isn't who I am. So why do I feel like a stranger inside my own life? I want you to hold on to that question because I think you already know, deep down, that laziness was never really the diagnosis. Here's the truth. Burnout and laziness can wear the same clothes. Both of them show up as slowing down, canceling plans, staring at a to-do list like it's written in a language you no longer speak. From the outside, they look almost identical. But underneath the surface, they come from 2 completely different places. Laziness is a personality trait, a preference for ease. Burnout is a nervous system that has been running on emergency reserves for so long that it has finally, quietly shut the lights off. One recent workplace survey found that nearly 3 out of 4 adults in the United States report symptoms consistent with burnout, and close to half of those describe their exhaustion as severe. This isn't a rare condition. This is an epidemic hiding behind a 4-letter word, lazy. So today, we're going to walk through 6 honest signs that what you're calling laziness might actually be burnout. And by the end of this video, I'm going to give you a real, practical path out of this exhaustion, not another lecture about trying harder. I'm Brené, and this is Motivational Humanity. Let's begin. You feel like a ghost in your own life. Think back to yesterday. Did you wake up, make coffee, answer emails, sit through a meeting, eat something you don't even remember tasting, and go back to bed, all without ever really arriving in any of those moments? Your hands did the work. Your mouth said the right things. But you weren't there. You were somewhere behind glass, watching your own life happen to someone who looked like you. Psychologists call this depersonalization. When the mind has absorbed more stress than it can safely process, it activates something like an emotional circuit breaker. It pulls you back from your own experience to protect you from feeling the full weight of it. You start to feel like a visitor in your own story, watching from a distance, with no hand on the wheel. This is nothing like laziness. A person who is simply being lazy is present for their rest. They know they're choosing comfort, and they enjoy it fully. But burnout doesn't feel like relief. It feels like static, like being unplugged from your own life while your body keeps moving anyway. If that's where you are, please hear this. Your mind didn't fail you. It protected you the only way it knew how the fire that used to drive you has gone quiet. The clearest difference between laziness and burnout isn't how much you're doing. It's when the change happened. Laziness tends to be a lifelong pattern, a steady, comfortable relationship with doing less. But burnout has a before and an after. So ask yourself honestly, were you once the person who set the ambitious goals? Maybe you were the student who stayed up finishing the essay nobody else started. Maybe you were the new hire who arrived early, stayed late, and genuinely loved the challenge of it. Maybe you were simply someone who always followed through. And now? Now, even replying to a text feels like negotiating with your own body. If you used to be driven, and now you feel like a phone at 2% battery that never quite finishes charging, that shift is one of the loudest signals of burnout there is. Neuroscience describes this as cognitive depletion, a measurable decline in the brain's executive function after prolonged overload. You didn't lose your ambition. You spent it all without ever refilling the account. Even joy feels like a chore. We tend to assume laziness only touches the things we have to do, the emails, the errands, the responsibilities. But someone who is simply lazy will still light up for the things they love. They'll avoid the dishes, Sure, but they'll stay up until 2 a.m. completely absorbed in a show, a game, a hobby, a conversation with a friend that makes them laugh until their stomach hurts. Burnout doesn't work that way. It doesn't stay in its lane. It spreads until it touches everything, including the things that used to bring you alive. Psychology calls this anhedonia, the loss of the capacity to feel pleasure. Your brain's reward system has been so overdrawn that it can no longer generate the spark it once did effortlessly. The guitar sits untouched in the corner. The garden you used to love tending now just looks like more work. Even scrolling through something you used to enjoy feels strangely heavy, like lifting something that shouldn't weigh this much. And if your passion is also your paycheck, if the thing you once loved has slowly become the thing draining you, you might even start to resent it. When picking up the one thing that used to make you feel like you feels exhausting, that is not laziness. That is a battery reading 0. Your patience has left the building. A genuinely lazy person tends to move through the world fairly unbothered. Low expectations of themselves usually come with a certain ease toward everyone else, too. But burnout strips that calm away entirely. Notice the small things lately. Does a notification buzzing on your desk make your jaw tighten? Does a slow-loading web page make your chest feel tight for no reasonable reason? Does someone laughing a little too loudly 2 tables away at a coffee shop make you want to disappear? You're not trying to be dramatic about it, but these tiny, ordinary moments are landing on you like sirens. There's a real biological reason for this. Under prolonged stress, the amygdala, your brain's alarm system, stays locked in a permanent state of high alert. Meanwhile, the prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for calm reasoning and emotional regulation, becomes worn down from constant overuse. Your nervous system is simply full. There's no more room to file away, even one more small disruption, without it registering as a threat. You haven't become a harder person to be around. Your alarm system is just maxed out. You've quietly stopped taking care of yourself. When burnout goes on long enough without intervention, the brain shifts into something close to survival mode. It starts rationing energy, cutting anything it decides isn't essential to keeping you alive. And self-care is almost always the first thing to go. Maybe your sleep has flipped upside down. You lie awake at 1 a.m. completely wired, or you sleep for 10 hours and still wake up exhausted. Maybe your meals have shrunk down to whatever requires the least effort. Something from a drive-through window, something microwaved, something eaten standing over the sink because sitting down to actually taste it feels like too much. Because your reward system is depleted, your brain reaches for the fastest, easiest hit of relief it can find instead of the deeper, slower kinds of joy that used to sustain you. Maybe your morning routine has quietly disappeared. Maybe you've canceled plans with people you genuinely love, not because you don't care, but because even showing up feels like more than you have to give. According to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, when the physical foundation underneath us becomes unstable, everything built on top of it, motivation, connection, purpose, starts to crack too. A lazy person still knows how to comfort themselves. Someone in burnout is slowly, quietly dismantling their own foundation. You're performing fine while falling apart inside. At its heart, laziness is a state of comfortable rest. A person who is simply lazy has made peace with doing nothing, and they don't feel any need to hide it or explain it to anyone. Burnout tells a very different story. Instead of letting yourself rest, you spend what little energy you have left constructing a performance of being okay. When your manager, your partner, or your mother asks how you're doing, the automatic reply comes out before you've even thought about it. I'm fine. I've got it handled. Psychologists call this masking, and it shows up constantly in what's known as high-functioning burnout. People who look completely put together on the outside while quietly falling apart within. You're afraid that if you stop, people will see you as weak or unreliable or like you've let them down. So instead of asking for help, you keep absorbing more, smiling wider until you collapse from the inside without ever having made a sound. You are not lazy. You are simply refusing to give yourself permission to be tired. But here's the truth you cannot outrun. You can fool your coworkers, your family, even your own reflection in the mirror. You cannot fool your nervous system. Denial doesn't heal exhaustion. It just makes the slope steeper. So where are you on the scale? Psychologist Herbert Freudenberger, one of the first researchers to formally study burnout, discovered that it doesn't happen overnight. It unfolds gradually in 5 stages. Stage 1, the honeymoon phase. You're running on 200% energy, full of ambition, convinced you're unstoppable. Stage 2, the onset of strain. Small signs of fatigue and disrupted sleep begin to surface, but you tell yourself you can push through. Stage 3, chronic stress. Motivation drops noticeably. The quality of your work slips. Procrastination creeps in, and small irritations start to feel unbearable. Stage 4, full burnout. A sense of emptiness settles in. You begin questioning your own worth, feel disconnected from everything, and want to escape every responsibility on your plate. Stage 5, chronic burnout. Total exhaustion becomes your baseline, and the risk of depression and anxiety rises sharply. Most of us start noticing symptoms at stage 2 or 3 and ignore them completely. We push ourselves harder to keep the appearance together, and then, when our output inevitably drops, we punish ourselves by calling it laziness. If you're watching this and you recognized 4, 5, or even all 6 of these signs in yourself, I want you to pause the video for just a moment. Take one full breath and really listen to this. What you are experiencing is not a character flaw. It is not your fault. We live inside a culture that worships busyness. From childhood, so many of us were taught, directly or indirectly, that our worth is measured in output, grades, promotions, followers, the number of things we can carry without dropping. But nobody ever sat us down and taught us how to recognize our own limits. Nobody taught us how to say, "I'm exhausted," without also whispering, "I'm sorry," right after it. You are not lazy. Your body and your nervous system are responding exactly the way they're supposed to respond to a mountain of pressure you have been carrying for far too long, often silently. You have been doing an extraordinary job just to make it to this sentence. This is not the moment to be harder on yourself. This is the moment to rebuild. Rename what's happening. Remove the words lazy and failure from how you talk to yourself, starting today. Replace them with something honest and neutral. I have reached my current capacity. Hitting a limit isn't a verdict against your character. It's data. It tells you exactly where the edge is, so you can finally build your life around it instead of constantly slamming into it. Empty your mind onto paper. So much overwhelm comes from trying to hold every deadline, every conflict, every half-finished errand in your head at once, like a browser with 200 tabs open. Put your phone down. Take a real piece of paper and write down everything circling your mind. The big things like finish the client proposal, and the small things like buy more coffee filters. The moment you physically move a thought out of your head and onto the page, your amygdala gets real, measurable relief. You start to feel like you're holding the list instead of the list holding you. Make a will not do list. Look back at everything you just wrote. I'd bet that somewhere between 1/5 and nearly half of it is either unnecessary, low value, or something you only added out of guilt. Cross it out. Ask yourself honestly, if this never gets done, does anyone actually get seriously hurt by that? If the answer is no, let it go. Clearing your list this way can cut your mental load almost instantly. Sort what's left and stop carrying it alone. For what genuinely has to get done, split it into 2 piles. First, anything you can finish in 5 or 10 minutes. Do those right now. Completing something small, even something tiny, gives your brain a small dopamine reward that builds real momentum. Second, anything too big to carry solo. Don't white-knuckle your way through it. Telling a colleague you're overloaded or being honest with your manager is not weakness. It's what a responsible, self-aware person does. Let the ego rest for a while. Practice saying no like it's a full sentence. One of the fastest routes to burnout is believing you have to say yes to everyone, always. When someone adds one more thing to a plate that's already full, don't stay silent and let resentment build until it erupts later. Try language like this. I really want to help with this. Right now, I'm focused on finishing X and Y by their deadlines. If I take this on too, all 3 will suffer. Can we look together at what actually needs to come first? This is calm, clear, and professional, and it puts the decision back where it belongs without burning a single bridge. Collect your small wins on purpose. Burnout drags your brain toward negativity bias. It only shows you the unfinished. Fight back deliberately. At the end of each day, instead of listing what you didn't get to, write down 3 things you actually did, no matter how small. I answered that email I'd been avoiding for a week. I got out of bed before noon. I made myself an actual meal. This slowly rewires your brain's reward system and coaxes your motivation back online. Protect a small window of real rest every single day. You cannot drive a car indefinitely without ever stopping for fuel. No matter how full your schedule feels, carve out 15 to 30 minutes daily to fully disconnect. No emails, no messages, no scrolling. Take a walk. Listen to one song all the way through. Read a few pages of something that isn't work. Sit somewhere quiet and just breathe. That is not wasted time. That is the maintenance your mind requires to keep functioning at all. Healing from burnout is never a straight line, and it will not happen overnight. It takes patience. It takes real compassion toward yourself. And it takes the courage to finally set down the weight that was never truly yours to carry alone in the first place. Stop asking an empty tank to run a marathon. Let yourself take this one honest step at a time. If right now you feel numb, like you want to disappear for a while, and you don't have the energy left to explain any of this to anyone, please hear me. You are not alone in this room. Not even close. If this video helped you set down even one invisible weight you've been carrying silently, I'd love for you to share exactly where you see yourself on that 5-stage scale in the comments below. Not to judge yourself, but so we can hold that mirror up together. And if you want more honest, science-backed conversations like this one, subscribe to Motivational Humanity, and let's keep doing this deeper work together. You are not lazy. You simply need to rest. I am reclaiming my peace.